Last night, which from the point of recording was Monday the 13th of June 2011, I watched a documentary called Terry Pratchett Choosing to Die, in which Sir Terry Pratchett, for want of a better term, explores the world of people with incurable, terminable illnesses and their choice to die or to not die. And as such, it also deals with assisted suicides, with particular focus given to a Swiss organisation called Dignitas. And this has arguably been the most thought-provoking 60 minutes of television that I've ever seen. And from this point onwards, I'm gonna get a little rambly, so I apologise in advance. Although I would say that I would heartily recommend checking out the documentary, either on YouTube or on the BBC iPlayer. It is well worth your time. Now, this documentary has done a great deal, I think would be the best way of putting it, to help me really crystallise some thoughts on the whole subject that I've first had quite a few years ago. Because quite a few years ago, we had our faithful hound of 17 years put down. She had trouble standing, she could barely see, she was all but deaf, she was ridiculously incontinent. Now, my one hope is that she had a good life, or rather, that she felt that she'd had a good life. But she was put down, and we called it a kindness, trotting out that bland old cliche of you've got to be cruel to be kind. So we called that a kindness, but we are seemingly happy to keep people in states of agony and indignity and suffering, all the while denying them the right to end it how they see fit. We do that, and we call that... what do we call that? What do we call that? Love? Or compassion? Or humanity? One of the few things that I have any genuine belief in is self-determination. I believe wholeheartedly in the right to choose. And the right to choose how you live goes hand in hand with the right to choose how you die. Now, I remember back at school we had a series of non-academic lessons called PSE lessons, or Personal Social Education. I would expect everyone has done something similar to that. And I remember one lesson that did cover suicide, and someone in that lesson made the point that suicide is the easy way out. Now, I've given that quite a bit of thought over the last 12 years or so, and I don't think that it is the easy way out. There are many reasons for suicide. I actually knew a person who committed suicide. I didn't know her very well. I met her 2 or 3 times. But from what little I knew of her, her suicide spoke of something tragic that someone should have gotten a hold of, but they didn't. The heartlessness and hypocrisy that followed her death spoke volumes as to why she didn't get the help from her friends that she needed. But it seems to me that for her, suicide wasn't the easy way out, but that she felt it was her only way out. And similarly with the people in this documentary, including Pratchett himself, they all have their reasons for doing what they are doing, whether it's looking each day in the eye and just saying bring it, knowing that each day is going to get worse, or whether it's to say the hell with it and leaving everything that they love and care for behind. And neither of those paths, for want of a better term, I think could really be considered the easy way. because in my youthful bravado years ago, I did state quite emphatically that I do not want to be this way. I do not want to end up like that. I want to be put down if this happens or that happens. But I don't know, just thinking about it as this documentary has prompted me to do, thinking on it now, I don't know whether I would have the courage to do it. Of course, I also don't know if I would have the courage to face the illness, or this hypothetical illness of mine, either. The closing of the documentary, as we see the final few moments of a man's life, are easily some of the most poignant and heartbreaking moments I've ever seen. An hour before, I never knew this man even existed, and at that point in time I was, and even now in some respects, I'm still trying to maintain and display as much dignity and famed British reserve, I suppose, as both he and his wife displayed as he made the final decision. And it occurs to me now, as I've been thinking about it, as I've said all this, I mean, that's why my usual machine gun way of speaking is somewhat subdued at the moment. Thinking on it now, it just exposes to me, I suppose, just how much of a fallacy and a straw man all the campaigners against assisted suicide, the fallacy of their arguments again, and the straw man of their arguments against it, that it's the start of a slippery slope towards involuntary euthanasia of our old and infirm and other burdens, if I hope you spotted the air quotes there, burdens to society. Because assisted suicide, certainly as presented in this documentary, assisted suicide is not the start. I don't think it's the start of a slippery slope towards involuntary euthanasia or any such related bullshit like that, if only because it's a trivial matter to implement enough safeguards and such checks and balances and safeguards and such a system to ensure that it never reaches that stage. No, I think that assisted suicide is nothing more than a way for someone to take control of their life back from this uncaring disease that is killing them. And yeah, I think I'm about done now. It's been very cathartic, actually, just saying it, and once again, if you've made it this far, thank you very much indeed for listening. I hope it made something resembling sense. And all I can really end this with is to once again suggest that you go and check out this documentary. It'll be, like I say, it's bound to be on the interwebs somewhere. Terry Pratchett, Choosing to Die.